Hi, I am Iwat, and you are watching a new episode of my Survival Minecraft Let's Play, and I have completely forgotten the episode number we are at right now, but that doesn't matter. In this episode, I want to build and expand our base, and I want to start over here with this ugly wall. But before we can actually start, there is one very important thing that we have to do, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, please say it with me. Can we please play the intro? It turns out that it is episode number 27 already, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, as you can see, I immediately started this project by, as usual, starting to dig a hole. And this time I dug my hole a little bit downwards because I wanted this section to have a stairway going downwards to break up the straight line of sight that we had going on. And if you are wondering what exactly I mean with this straight line of sight, well, I mean this right here. This already is quite a long hallway, and if we continue more in a straight line, I think it will look very strange, and we should have something to break the view. In this case, we do that by simply dropping the ceiling and going down. The idea for this section right here is to sort of extend the theme that we have going on over here with the yellow terracotta. But I kind of want to spice it up a little bit and do some more fancy things. Of course, I still want to do some like of these nature things, but I kind of want to try, for example, add like a pixel art or something. And at the end over here, I don't want to continue with a similar theme hallway. I think I should add a door to completely break the view and end this like section of the base. Anyway, I was trying to build this in a time lapse, and then I realized that we do not have any basalt anymore. So we quickly need to make a trip to the nether. Now that we are in the nether, I figured that this was a great moment to do some mining for ancient debris. So I brought a whole bunch of beds. I wanted to do that because we still have a lot of diamond in our equipment, and we broke one of our pickaxes a lot earlier. And I kind of wanted to do this anyway, so now that we are here, I figured that this is the great moment to do so. And yeah, I also brought some fire resistance because of this. But so yeah, what I will do is just pull up some beds and see if we can find some ancient debris. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, using our freshly acquired basalt, I have put in some framing, and framing always helps a lot to structure your thoughts and structure the build when doing something like this. And we have run into a problem that might be a bit bad. That right there is a problem. So that is the back of the thing to measure the speed of your horse. So if we go there, I can show you what that is. It's around the corner, obviously. You saw where it is. So it is over there, the spot with the target block. So these blocks right here, if you clean this, yeah, you can see you get a hole down there. So we kind of have to figure out how we deal with that, because obviously I don't want to break or move the horse speed tester, and I also don't really want to move this hallway. And besides that, I now have to start figuring out what I am going to put in here. And I think that for the majority, that's actually really easy. So for example, the ceiling will be leaves in the ceiling, which is easy. We've already have the design. And for the walls, I am going to try to just fill it in with yellow terracotta. We'll see what we do with that. And then I think right now that I should fill this one in with nature like we have over there. And the other one I'm going to leave empty for now because I really want to try this pixel art idea. I am going to cut now and it is going to look as if I made a lot of progress, but actually most of the stuff that I'm going to do is just copy paste from what we have over there, so it's not that time consuming. It's the designing part that is more difficult. Oh yeah, I forgot to show you this because I was so tunnel visioned on I want to build in the framing with the basalt, but I got enough ancient debris to upgrade 2 of our tools or armor, and I think I am just going to upgrade both of my picks here. Leaves in the ceiling and yellow walls have been constructed. And I also found a solution for this thing over there, as you can see. And this section over here, I have intentionally left blank, because I really want to build a pixel art here, but I'm kind of thinking about how exactly I want to approach this. So for now, I'm just going to leave it blank until I know exactly how I want to build something over there. Anyway, next step is to add the details. I fixed the problem of the back of this thing colliding with the wall on the other side by simply changing the design on this a little bit. It doesn't really serve any major functions except for aligning yourself using this thing. But essentially it's just a wall, and by making it come forward 1 block using all of these wood things, we can still make it look good and have it work on the other side. Alright, I have added details to the build, and I essentially just followed what we had going on upstairs, which is just spamming a whole lot of flower pots and adding some greenery on the sides using some leaves and sugarcane and whatnot. And over here I also added a painting, and I love paintings recently. I again think that this looks very good. Maybe you have noticed that in my recent builds I almost always include a painting, simply because I like them so much. And on the bottom here I have added this window. This window is a place where I intend to display a mob, as I intend to do at various locations throughout my base. We also have one upstairs over here that we still haven't put a mob in. And right now I feel is a good moment to do some mob wrangling, to actually put something in there and finish it and display a mob. Also, I have discovered that while working on here, our iron farm broke, and I have no idea why, so we kind of have to investigate that and do some maintenance to this build probably. However, there is no real easy access to the redstone area of this contraption, so that is actually something that I want to build today, which is like a sort of secret entrance to the behind the scenes for this thing right here. Right, let's do some mob wrangling. For the first mob that we are going to put on display, I feel like I want to choose the simple cow. And I am going to try and fishing rod one of them out of their little pen here, because breaking their fence is just going to explode them all over the place, and that's going to be a mess. So let's see if we can get one of them out. Oh, that actually, oh wow, that worked flawlessly. That worked way better than I expected it to work. Alright, so let's escort this guy over to his display cage. And while we walk here, I feel like I want to talk to you, and I want to tell you a little story. And it is a story that I got promoted to CRO of the household. What do you mean you don't know what a CRO is? Obviously, every single household has a CRO, right? I mean, a CRO is absolutely vital to the functioning of the household, and you cannot live without one. If you do not have a CRO in your household, you should immediately appoint one, because it's just crucial. You still don't know what it is? Well, a CRO is a Chief Rotation Officer. And you're still confused about that? Well, let me explain. I am the CRO, so my main function is to rotate. I am the responsible of rotation. And that means that every now and then I have to shuffle the shares around so that the same shares do not always sit at the same spot on the table. Now you might be wondering, why on earth is that useful? Well, that is of essential importance because that causes the little caps on the legs of the chair to wear out equally. And that is useful because eventually they are going to wear out enough to the point where you have to replace them. And when you have to replace them, you have to order them somewhere online or whatever, or you have to buy them. And usually it is a lot cheaper if you can buy a lot of them. And if these caps on the end of your chairs have not worn out equally, that can mean that it's a bit weird to replace them all, because then you replace some of them that are not worn out at all yet, and that's just wasteful, right? Because leaving the ones that are not worn out just on the end and replacing only the ones that are worn out is a bit weird because now they are not equal. So obviously it is of the greatest importance to have a CRO and to shift the chairs around so that the legs will wear off equally. And ladies and gentlemen, now that our story is done, as you can see, we have a cow in this display. Now let's get some other mob to put in this other display. The other mob, I kind of want to be a pillager. However, there is one problem with that, and that is, where are we going to get a pillager from? And the answer is, I have no clue. Earlier, I used to have them spawn in our valley all the time, but recently, since I've moved my villagers, I don't get them anymore. And because of that, I don't know how to get them. I guess I'm just going to postpone getting a pillager until the next time I come across one, and then when we come across one, I will escort it to its display cage. Since this episode seems to be the episode in which we build a lot on this hallway in our base, I feel like we should do something about this weird blank wall at the end here. I already kind of had something in mind to build over here, but today is a day that I'm actually going to build it. So, we live in a flower forest biome, but we actually haven't really done anything with that fact. So, today that is going to change because I want to build a flower farm over here. Basically, what that is going to do is I give it bone meal, it is going to give me flowers. And that's probably a little bit more technical, this build. So let's prepare some redstone here. Okay, so I have designed the interface for this farm. And it looks like all the interfaces for my farms look like. So the idea is that we put bone meal in here and it will just generate flowers and put those in here. There is no on or off switch because I feel like I just put in bone meal, and as long as there is bone meal, this farm should run. Over here we have an item frame with a flower, which is obviously indicating what we are going to make. But I am going to add the restriction that I am going to try and make this farm make only one type of flower. And that is a restriction that can make the construction of this farm a little bit more difficult, but I'll explain this in a second. Anyway, we have to have some way of accessing the behind the scenes here, because obviously breaking this every time is going to be a bit annoying. Also, we have to access this thing because it's broken, and I've added that secret entrance. Do you have any guess where it is going to be, ladies and gentlemen? I think you will never guess where it is. It's in the water. So if we go over here, underneath the bridge, there is a door. And then we can go into the redstone. I have also already taken a look at the zombie and villagers for the iron farm. And I have concluded that the reason it is not working is because the villagers are not sleeping. As you can see in my hand, I have a clock and it is nighttime right now, but for some reason these villagers are not going in their beds. Even though I've already interfered and already placed down blocks so they cannot possibly see the zombie. So I am not sure what is going on here. Maybe I have to break the beds and replace them, but we'll figure something out. Anyway, I have also went over here and added this thing over here, which is just a hole in which we are going to try and build the flower farm. Though I think we actually need to build a lot more stuff up higher and whatnot, but we'll start over here. I know from experience that doing redstone on camera is very difficult, so what I'm going to do is I am once again going to create one of these mock-up versions on the surface and then show you the end result. I tried setting up a mock-up version of the redstone of this farm, but in doing so I realized that the mock-up would be just as complicated and difficult to explain as the real version, so there's no real point, and I decided that I should explain the redstone in the real contraption. But there is one aspect of this farm that I kind of have to explain up here at the surface, because it's going to be very difficult down in the caves. So the thing I have to explain over here is a property about bone mealing grass in a flower forest biome. So if I use bone meal over here, you can see that we generated quite a lot of blue flowers here. But the important thing here is that every single spot has a specific flower that it can generate. So this block right here generated a blue flower. So if we bone meal it repeatedly, it can only generate these blue flowers and no other type of flower can generate there. And we can use this to control what flowers our farm will generate. And that is done simply by aligning the patch of grass that we bone meal with the pattern in the flower forest biome. By the way, if you were to bone meal everything so you get flowers, it actually generates in kind of nice patterns. You should look it up on pictures. Right, let's go to the farm and let's show you how it works. And we'll take this entrance. I don't take this entrance enough. We should do it if we are close enough to it so it saves us time. So I have prepared it completely and it's done. So if we give it bone meal, it'll start. The light will go on to indicate that it is working. There we go. And over here we'll get our flowers. Yeah. And as you can see, I also updated the flower to indicate that we are generating this type of flower. Now let's go down into the redstone and explain how this thing works. Now, where do we start? I think the best place to start is like is over there. This chest right here is the chest where I inputted the bone meal. And that bone meal can get pulled out by this hopper. But I have set up an item filter, which filters out only bone meal. That means that we can put in some weird stuff like stone over here and it won't get pulled out. That is just as a safety to prevent weird things from getting stuck in the farm. I have explained how an item filter works beforehand in earlier videos, but I'll cover it quickly over here as well because we have another one on the top. So the idea of an item filter is that we have a contraption that locks this hopper by powering it. and that causes a set amount of items to be stuck in the stop hopper. And we just fill it with all the same type of item, so only this type of item can enter, making the amount of items in here higher than the set amount of items that is stuck, and then it unlocks. We do that by having that set amount of items be the exact amount that this comparator can detect, as is a difference between 1 strength output and 2 strength output, because if it is 1 more than this, then it will switch to 2 strength output, and it will allow 1 item to pass through. Now, the bone meal then gets pulled out of the chest, and then it gets moved into this dropper. This dropper has a mechanism that as soon as there are items in there, it will just start spitting them out. And it works by having a comparator going out. That comparator powers this redstone torch, and that will start this thing going around. And every time it powers that block, it will power the dropper here. And that dropper just spits out the items inside of a bubble column using this soul sand, and that transports the bone meal up to the top. And we follow it over here, and then it gets picked up over here, and it goes into this double chest. This is just a buffer so it doesn't overflow. And then it just simply flows into this dispenser over here. This dispenser over here is pointing upwards into a patch of grass. Let's actually destroy some blocks here so we can see what is going on. And when it gets powered, it will bone meal this thing over here. Maybe we should actually start the contraption so we can see it in action, because I think that will explain a lot, actually. Let's do that. Let's give it some juice to run on. There we go. And let's go back so I can continue my explanation. So, as you can hear, this dropper right here is spitting out its items into the bubble column. Alright. And up over here, we have the dispenser down there that is being powered, generating some grass and the flowers that we want. And then we have another dispenser in the corner here that dispenses water to flush out all of these items and make them flow into this hopper that collects them. Alright. Let's close this up again. And let's show the mechanism that does the flushing and the powering of the dispenser. So this dispenser right here has a very similar system to the dropper downstairs. So it has a comparator detecting if there's items inside. And if there are, then this thing will start cycling around. And the important thing to note here is that this clock right here, this thing cycling around, is a lot slower than the one downstairs. That is because we need to give the water enough time to flow out and bring all the items to the hopper. And if you follow the redstone over here, it goes over here. This powers the dispenser, bone mealing the grass. And then from this block that also powers the dispenser, we pull using a repeater, and that goes into this redstone wire right here. And this is observed by an observer, and that powers that dispenser up there. We have an observer here because that observer will power the dispenser every time this redstone dust changes state. And that is twice per cycle of this clock right here. That is important because we have to put the water out, but we also have to suck it back up. So that is twice per cycle. And this observer does exactly that. There is also this redstone torch right here that powers this redstone line. and that redstone line goes underneath right here, and that just powers the lights to indicate that the farm is working. Yes, what's next? So what's next is we collect the seeds and the flowers in this hopper right here. And we then run it into another item filter that filters out the seeds, because I only want flowers and I wanted my farm to be fancy. So I figured, oops, I did not mean to place that block. That's a mistake. Let's remove it. Can I access it? We'll clean it up later. Anyway, so I wanted my farm to be fancy, and I wanted to sort of recycle the seeds and have them go in a composter and convert them into bone meal that can start the whole process over again. So we filter out the seeds and we just make them go down into this composter. And that composter, the bone meal from that gets pulled out and just put in the chest that we also would put in our bone meal. So that would just work perfectly fine. And the flowers just go into a chain of hoppers into this chest over here. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have explained every component of this. So let's catch my block that I threw away. And I'm stuck here, right? Yeah, so let's get out and let's go to the front side. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this explanation is completely done. Let me know what you think of this, because the redstone in there is a little bit messy. And I'm not sure how clearly it is to follow that, but there we go. For this episode, there is still one more thing left, and that is this little thing right here. This thing where I wanted to make a piece of art. And I am going to start very similar to how I made the chicken in the wall a very long time ago, and that is by just making it black first. A backdrop has been constructed using black concrete, and now it is time to build some art. And now I have thought about this a lot, and I feel like I want to try to build a fox as pixel art, because this room is very yellow, but it has some orange and maybe even pink shades in it with jungle wood. And I feel like the color scheme of like a fox with orange and white would actually fit in really well as like a nice contrast to the other colors over here. So that is what I'm going to build. Let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, it is done, and I am so proud of this piece. I think this art piece of a fox looks so good, and to be honest, I struggled on this for a very long time, but it was worth it, because this looks great in my opinion. It is exactly what I envisioned it to be, and you know, it's just great, and it fits perfectly in the room as well. The color scheme is great. I like the amount of depth that is going on, and it's just perfect. I feel like this is a great high note to end the episode on, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, ending the episode also means that we come to the fact of the video. And the fact of this episode is that in the movie Fight Club, there is a Starbucks cup in every single scene. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for watching this video, especially if you watched all the way until the end right now. Thank you. I hope I can see you in the next episode as well. And above everything, ladies and gentlemen, above everything, keep wondering.